She mocked me for being old and unmarried at our family dinner, but she was the one who tore up my abuse report when I was 17. He beat me for embarrassing the family. 18 years later, I invited them both to a family meeting. Then I pulled out the bank statements, 14 years of financial records, every penny I'd given them while they called me worthless. The restraining order was just the beginning. My name is Lauren Hale, and I learned early that some families keep their ugliest truths locked behind closed doors, literally. I was 12 when my mother, Deborah, married Russell. Our house in suburban Oregon looked perfect from the outside, white picket fence, manicured lawn, American flag waving from the porch. Inside, it was a different story. The first time Russell raised his hand to me, I was 14. I'd forgotten to take out the trash. The slap came so fast I didn't see it coming. I just felt the sting across my cheek and tasted copper in my mouth. "You made me do that," he said, straightening his tie. "Next time, remember your chores." My mother was in the next room folding laundry. When I ran to her, tears streaming down my face, she didn't even look up. "Go wash your face," she said quietly, and closed the living room door. The neighbors might hear. That became our routine. Russell's temper would flare over homework, over my tone of voice, over nothing at all, and my mother would close doors. The kitchen door when he grabbed my arm so hard it left fingerprints. The bedroom door when he shoved me into the wall. The living room door when his voice rose to that dangerous pitch that meant I should run. By the time I was 17, I'd perfected the art of covering bruises with concealer and wearing long sleeves in summer. My teachers never asked. My friends never knew. But something inside me was breaking, piece by piece, like a window developing spiderweb cracks before it shatters completely. The breaking point came on a Tuesday in March. I'd gotten accepted to Oregon State University, with early admission and a partial scholarship. I was so proud. Rushing home with the acceptance letter clutched in my hand, I found Russell in his usual spot on the couch, beer in hand, watching TV. "I got in," I said, holding up the letter. "The Oregon State Engineering Program." He looked at me with those cold gray eyes. "Who's paying for it?" he asked. "I have a scholarship and I can work." "Work?" He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You can't even remember to close the garage door." "I closed it last night." "I know I did." The remote control hit the wall inches from my head. I flinched, and he was on his feet, closing the distance between us. "Don't you dare talk back to me in my own house." My mother appeared in the doorway, dish towel in hand. For a moment, I thought she might finally say something, finally protect me. Instead, she quietly closed the door behind her and walked away. That night, I sat in my guidance counselor's office and told her everything. Mrs. Martinez listened with growing concern as I rolled up my sleeves to show the bruises and pulled back my hair to reveal the mark on my neck. She typed up a report, printed it out, and put it in an envelope. "We'll need your mother to sign this," she said gently. "It's protocol for reporting these situations." I took the envelope home, my hands shaking. My mother was alone in the kitchen making dinner. I placed it on the counter. "Mrs. Martinez says you need to sign this," I said quietly. She opened it, read the first few lines, and I watched her face change, not with concern or shock, but with something colder, anger. "How dare you," she whispered. And then she was tearing the paper once, twice, 3 times until it was confetti in her hands. "How dare you try to embarrass this family over a few small bruises? Mom, please. Do you know what people will say? Do you know what this will do to our reputation? To Harper's future?" Harper, my younger half-sister, was only 10 years old then. Deborah's daughter from her second marriage, the golden child who could do no wrong. He hurts me, I said, my voice breaking. He disciplines you, she corrected. Because you're difficult. You're stubborn. You talk back. You make him angry. That's not, go to your room. She swept the torn pieces into the trash. And if you ever pull a stunt like this again, you can find somewhere else to live. I won't have you destroying this family with your lies. I stood there, 17 years old, watching my mother throw away the evidence of my pain like it was nothing more than kitchen scraps. That's when I understood, in her eyes, I wasn't her daughter. I was an inconvenience, a problem to be managed, a potential scandal to be suppressed. I went to my room and locked the door. Through the thin walls, I could hear Russell's truck pulling into the driveway. Harper's cheerful voice greeting him. My mother's laugh, light and false, as she served dinner. The perfect family, as long as you didn't look too close, as long as you kept the doors closed. I started planning my escape that night, counting down the days until I turned 18, until I could leave and never look back. But even then, teenage and naive, I knew the truth, you can leave a house, but you can't leave the scars. They follow you. Invisible but ever-present, shaping every relationship, every interaction, every quiet moment when the memories creep back in. What I didn't know then was that one day, all those closed doors would open. And when they did, everyone would finally see what had been hidden in the darkness all along. 15 years had passed since I'd escaped that house. I was 32 now, a senior data engineer at a tech company in Portland, living in a downtown loft with floor-to-ceiling windows that I never covered. No closed doors, not anymore. I'd built a good life, 6 figures, savings account, investment portfolio, weekly therapy sessions that had helped me understand that Russell's violence and my mother's complicity weren't my fault. I had friends who knew my story and loved me anyway. I had a career that challenged me, hobbies that fulfilled me, and most importantly, I had peace. What I didn't have was a husband. This fact hadn't bothered me until I walked into my mother's house for Christmas dinner, and felt the weight of their judgment crush down on me like a physical force. The house looked exactly the same white walls, same family photos. None of me after age 17. It seemed like a suffocating atmosphere of forced perfection. Harper was there, 25 now, and radiant with the glow of the newly engaged. Her fiancé, Marcus, was the son of a prominent local attorney, a fact my mother had mentioned no less than 6 times in her voicemails leading up to this dinner. Lauren. Harper squealed, running to hug me. The giant diamond on her finger caught the light. Can you believe it? I'm getting married. I hugged her back, genuinely happy for my half-sister despite everything. It wasn't her fault she'd been the favored child. She'd been too young to understand the dynamics back then. Congratulations, I said, meaning it. When's the wedding? Next fall. Oh, Lauren, wait until you see the venue. It's this gorgeous vineyard in Napa. Let the girl breathe. Harper, my mother interrupted, appearing from the kitchen. She looked me up and down, her lips pursing at my designer jeans and cashmere sweater. Lauren, you're late. I wasn't. I was exactly on time, but I didn't argue. Old habits. Russell emerged from his study, grayer now, a little softer around the middle, but still with those cold eyes that made my skin crawl. Lauren, he acknowledged with a nod, then turned his attention to Marcus. Let's talk about that investment opportunity you mentioned. Dinner was an elaborate production. My mother had pulled out the good china, the crystal glasses, the silver that only appeared for special occasions. As we ate, the conversation revolved entirely around Harper's engagement, the proposal story in Maui, at sunset, the ring, 3 carats, clarity, VVS1, the wedding plans, 200 guests, string quartet, 7-course meal. Of course, we'll need to find Harper the perfect dress, my mother gushed. Something that shows off her figure. She's kept herself in such good shape, unlike some people who let themselves go after 30. Her eyes flicked to me. I took a sip of wine and said nothing. And the bridesmaids, Harper chimed in. I'm thinking blush pink. What do you think, Lauren? You'll be my maid of honor, right? I saw my mother's face tighten almost imperceptibly. Harper, darling, my mother interrupted, Lauren might be busy with work. You know how career women are. And really, wouldn't one of your sorority sisters be more appropriate? Someone who understands these things. What things? I asked quietly. My mother set down her fork with deliberate precision. Well, marriage, for one. Family. The things that actually matter in life, not just spreadsheets and computers. Deborah, Russell warned mildly, but he was smirking. I'm simply being honest, she continued, warming to her theme. It's concerning. Really, a woman your age. Lauren, still single, still living alone, no prospects, no future. Really, just work. Work? Work? It's not natural. Maybe I'm happy, I said. She laughed, a tinkling sound like breaking glass. Happy? Oh, sweetheart. No woman is happy alone at 32. You're past your prime. Men want younger women. Women who are softer, more feminine. Not so, she gestured vaguely at me, harsh. Argumentative. You're arguing right now, Russell pointed out, and my mother nodded approvingly. See, this is why you're alone. You always have to be right. Always have to have the last word. No man wants that in a wife. Harper shifted uncomfortably. Mom, maybe we should talk about something else. I'm trying to help your sister, my mother said. Someone needs to tell her the truth. 32 and single is a red flag. It says something's wrong with you. That you're, she paused dramatically. Difficult. That word, the same word she'd used when I was 17. Bleeding and begging for help. Difficult. Besides, she continued, what kind of example are you setting for Harper? She's building a real life, a family, while you're what? Debugging code on Saturday nights. Marcus cleared his throat. Actually, data engineering is a really impressive field. Of course, you'd defend her, my mother cut him off. You're too polite, but we all know the truth. A woman without a husband at her age is a burden on the family. Embarrassing, really. What will people think at the wedding? Harper's spinster sister standing up there alone. Mom, Harper protested, but weakly. I looked around the table, at Russell, satisfied and smug. At my mother, vicious in her pronouncements. At Harper, uncomfortable, but not enough to truly defend me. At Marcus, a stranger who'd shown more kindness in 5 minutes than my family had in years. You know what's embarrassing? I said quietly. Having to pay for this dinner because Russell's been between jobs for 3 years. Or covering Harper's rent for 6 months when she couldn't find work after college. Or buying you that car, Mom, when yours broke down and you couldn't afford to fix it. The table went silent. Lauren, my mother's voice was ice. We don't discuss money at the table. No, I agreed. We don't discuss anything real at this table. We never have. I stood up, placed my napkin beside my plate with careful precision. Thank you for dinner, Harper. Congratulations on your engagement. I hope your marriage brings you joy. As I gathered my coat and purse, my mother's voice followed me. Running away again, Lauren. Just like when you were 17, always the victim, never taking responsibility for your own failures. I paused at the door, my hand on the knob. For a moment, I was that teenage girl again, desperate for her mother's love, her protection, her basic human decency. Then I remembered I wasn't that girl anymore. I was a woman who'd survived them, thrived despite them, built a life they couldn't touch. "I'll see you at the engagement party," I said without turning around. "I assume you'll want me to pay for that, too." The door closed on my mother's sharp intake of breath, but not before I heard Harper's voice, high and clear, "Of course, she's paying. Who else would?" The drive home from that dinner was a blur of street lights and suppressed memories. I made it to my loft, poured myself a generous glass of wine, and stood at those uncovered windows, looking out at the Portland skyline. But instead of the city lights, all I could see was the reflection of a scared teenage girl locking herself in the bathroom again. The memories came flooding back, uninvited and relentless. Age 14. The bathroom door didn't have a lock at first. I'd wedge myself between the toilet and the tub, knees drawn up to my chest, counting the tiles on the floor. 48. There were 48 tiles, and I knew each crack, each imperfection. Russell would pound on the door, demanding I come out and face the consequences of whatever imaginary infraction I'd committed that day, left a light on, took too long in the shower, breathed too loudly during his TV shows. I taught myself to cry silently, salt on my lips, shoulders shaking, but no sound. Sound made him angrier. Age 15. I saved up babysitting money to buy a rubber doorstop. Every night, I'd wedge it under the bathroom door from the inside. It wasn't much, but it was something. My own small act of resistance, until the night Russell kicked the door so hard the doorstop shot across the room and the door frame cracked. My mother made me pay for the repairs out of my college savings. "You caused the damage," she said, as if I'd been the one doing the kicking. Age 16. I kept a go bag hidden in the bathroom air vent, change of clothes, travel-size toiletries, $60 in small bills, a photocopy of my birth certificate. I'd seen a movie where a woman escaped her abuser, and I memorized every detail. But where would a 16-year-old go in suburban Oregon? And I had no car, no relatives who'd take me in, no friends whose parents would believe me over my articulate, church-going mother. So I stayed and I learned. I learned that a towel soaked in cold water could reduce swelling. That certain concealer brands covered purple better than others. That if I timed it right, I could stay after school for tutoring until Russell had usually had enough beers to mellow out. That teachers would accept any excuse for bruises, sports, clumsiness, roughhousing with friends I didn't have. Age 17, the bathroom became my office. I filled out college applications on the closed toilet lid, using a hardcover book as a desk. I wrote my admissions essays about resilience and determination, carefully dancing around the truth. I researched student loans by the light of my phone, calculating exactly how much debt I'd need to incur to never come back here. The night before the incident with the report, the one my mother tore up, I spent 4 hours in that bathroom. Russell had been in rare form, raging about a parking ticket, about the neighbor's dog, about the way I'd loaded the dishwasher. "Wrong, wrong, wrong," he shouted, pulling plates out and slamming them back in. One cracked. My fault. Naturally, I sat on that cold floor, back against the tub, and made a list in my journal, graduate high school, 3 months left. Move into dorms. August 15th, never come back. Never be small again. Never need anyone again. The last entry, I wrote in capital letters, survive. What I didn't write, but what I felt in my bones, was the deeper truth. It wasn't just about surviving Russell's fists, or my mother's cold indifference. It was about surviving with my sense of self intact. They could bruise my body, but I wouldn't let them break my spirit. I thought of Harper during those bathroom vigils, 10 years old, sleeping peacefully in her princess-themed bedroom, while I huddled on cold tile. She never knew. My mother made sure of that. Harper's door was always closed when Russell's temper flared. She was at sleepovers when things got bad. She was the proof that this was a normal, happy family. Look how well adjusted the younger daughter is. Look how she thrives. I didn't hate Harper for it. How could I? She was a child, innocent in all of this. But sometimes, in my darkest moments, I envied her ignorance. She got to believe in the fairy tale. She got to have a father figure who never raised his voice to her, a mother who doted on her, a sister who served as a convenient lightning rod for all the family dysfunction. The bathroom was also where I planned my future, where I dreamed of a life where I could leave doors open, where I could speak without calculating the risk, where I could exist without apologizing for existing. Now, standing in my loft, my beautiful, safe bathroom with a door I never closed, I raised my wine glass to that teenage girl. She'd been right about one thing: survival was possible. But she'd been wrong about another: you can't survive your way to wholeness. The bruises fade, but the wounds remain, and they ache at family dinners where your mother calls you a spinster, and your sister counts your money while dismissing your worth. I walked to my home office, powered up my laptop, and opened a folder I'd labeled insurance. Inside were photographs I'd taken of every bruise, every mark before they faded, dated, documented. I'd been meticulous even then, some part of me knowing I might need proof someday. There were other files too, screenshots of bank transfers going back years. Every rent payment for Harper, every car repair for my mother, every loan to Russell that was never repaid. 14 years of financial support to the very people who considered me a family embarrassment. I'd kept it all, just like I'd kept that emergency bag in the bathroom vent. Just like I'd kept that journal with its desperate survival plans. Because that bathroom floor girl had taught me something valuable. Sometimes the best revenge isn't forgetting. It's remembering everything. And waiting for exactly the right moment to show them what survival really looks like. The email arrived 3 days after Christmas dinner. Hi sis, hope you're not still upset about dinner. Mom means well. She's just worried about you. Anyway, the engagement party is February 14th, Valentine's Day. How perfect, right? At the Riverside Country Club. 150 guests, cocktail attire. I've attached the catering invoice and venue deposit. Thanks for handling this. Love you, Harper. Attached was an invoice for $8,000. I stared at my laptop screen, coffee growing cold in my hand. No apology for her mother's cruelty. No acknowledgement of the insults. Just an invoice and the breezy assumption that I'd pay it. Love you. As if those words meant anything in our family. I opened my banking app and scrolled through the transfers. It had started small, right after I graduated college, $20 here for gas money, $50 there for groceries. Just until Russell's back on his feet, my mother had said about the man who terrorized me. His back was mysteriously injured, preventing him from working, but not from golf or fishing trips. The requests escalated when I got my first promotion. Harper needed textbooks, then a laptop, then rent for her off-campus apartment, because dorms are so limiting for networking. My mother's car broke down. Could I cover the repair? Just this once. Then her dental work. Then Russell's medical bills for his phantom back injury. I pulled up my spreadsheet. Yes, I'd been tracking it all. Data engineer habits die hard. $14,000 in family support. Harper's college expenses, $42,000. Harper's rent, 6 months post-graduation, $9,600. Harper's car down payment, $5,000. Mom's car repairs a replacement, $12,000. Mom's medical or dental, $8,500. Russell's medical bills, $15,000. Miscellaneous emergencies, $11,000. Previous family gatherings I'd funded, $7,000. Total, $110,000 plus. Over $100,000 to people who saw me as nothing more than an ATM with self-esteem issues. A spinster whose only value was her earning potential. My phone buzzed. Another text from Harper. Did you get my email? Need to confirm with the venue by Friday. I set the phone aside and pulled up more files, tax returns showing I'd claimed none of these gifts as deductions, because family doesn't keep receipts. Write email threads where my mother guilt-tripped me into paying. After all we've done for you, she'd write, as if providing basic shelter to a minor child was a favor I needed to repay forever. The most damning folder was labeled Russell Employment. Screenshots from his social media showed him at golf courses during his rehabilitation. His LinkedIn profile showed he'd been terminated from his last job for inappropriate workplace behavior, not the back injury he claimed. Court records. I'd found public information is a beautiful thing, showing 2 harassment complaints from former co-workers. Yet, I kept paying. Why? My therapist and I had dissected this pattern endlessly, the guilt, the hope that maybe this time they'd see my worth, the deeply embedded belief that love had to be earned, and if I just gave enough, did enough, sacrificed enough, maybe they'd finally accept me. But sitting there, the invoice for my sister's engagement party glowing on my screen, something shifted. I thought about that 17-year-old girl handing her mother a report about abuse, watching it get shredded. I thought about every dinner where they took my money while mocking my life. I thought about being erased from the guest list of a party I was paying for. Wait, what? I read Harper's email again. 150 guests, February 14th, Riverside Country Club, but no mention of me attending. Surely that was an oversight. I called Harper. Lauren, did you get the invoice? I did. Quick question. What time should I arrive to help set up? A pause. Oh, well, another pause. Mom thinks it might be better if you. I mean, it's mostly Marcus' family and friends, and they are all couples, and we don't want you to feel awkward being the only single person there. I'm paying for it. I know. And we are so grateful. It's just, how Mom is about appearances. And Marcus's father is very traditional. And Harper, am I invited to the engagement party I'm funding? The silence stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. Mom says it's for the best, she finally whispered. You understand, right? You know how you get at parties, all stiff and antisocial, and after that scene at Christmas dinner. We just don't want any drama. The scene where I was called a worthless spinster. You're twisting things. This is why Mom says you're difficult. Everything has to be about you and your feelings. I laughed. Actually laughed. The engagement party I'm paying for should include me. Yes, Harper. How selfish of me. See, you're doing it again, Harper continued. Making everyone uncomfortable. Maybe if you tried harder to fit in. I hung up. 10 minutes later, my mother called. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. Lauren. Harper's in tears. How dare you upset her during such an important time? This is exactly why we have to make hard decisions about the guest list. You bring negativity wherever you go. The least you can do is pay for your sister's happiness without making it about yourself. And don't even think about backing out now, we've already put deposits down. Call me back when you're ready to apologize. I played it twice, marveling at the manipulation, the masterful way she'd made me the villain for questioning my exclusion from an event I was bankrolling, the casual cruelty wrapped in concern for Harper's feelings. My laptop pinged. Another email from Harper. Lauren, I'm sorry you're hurt, but this isn't about you. Some people are meant to be in the spotlight, and some are meant to be support systems. You're 32 with no relationship prospects. Do you really want to stand around watching happy couples all night? We are doing you a favor. The invoice is due Friday. Please don't ruin this for me. A support system. That's what I was to them. Not a daughter, not a sister. A support system with a six-figure salary and no boundaries. I saved the email, added it to my growing folder of evidence. Then I did something I'd never done before. I didn't pay the invoice. Friday came and went. The calls and texts grew increasingly frantic, then angry, then threatening. Russell left a voicemail saying I was legally obligated to honor my promise to pay. My mother texted that I was destroying the family. Harper sent a long email about how I'd ruined her life, and Marcus' family was reconsidering the marriage because of the financial instability I'd caused. I saved every message, every voicemail, every email because that teenage girl who'd once hidden in a bathroom planning her survival had grown into a woman who understood something her family never would. Real power isn't about throwing punches or slamming doors. Real power is knowing your worth and making others recognize it, too. The question now was, how far was I willing to go to make them see it? Looking at my bank account, healthy and untouched by their latest demand, I realized I already knew the answer, all the way. The silence lasted exactly 6 days. Then Harper broke. She always was the weakest link in their manipulation chain, too used to getting what she wanted without effort. Too pampered to handle real adversity. The email arrived at 11:47 p.m. on a Wednesday. Lauren, I don't know what game you're playing, but you win. Okay. I had to ask Marcus's parents for the money. Do you know how humiliating that was? They think we are poor now. Mom had to sell her jewelry to cover the catering deposit. Russell pawned his golf clubs. Are you happy? Is this what you wanted? To see us suffer? I found the engagement party guest list and added your name. There, you're invited. Now, will you please just pay for it like you promised? Harper. Attached was a PDF of the guest list. I searched for my name, finding it at the very bottom, clearly added in a different font. Lauren Hale, Harper's sister. Not even maid of honor, just Harper's sister. Like a footnote. I printed the list and circled my name, then filed it in my evidence folder. Another piece of the puzzle. But the real revelation was in Harper's panic. They'd had to sacrifice for once. Mom's jewelry, probably the pearl necklace she wore to church to impress the other mothers. Russell's golf clubs, his most prized possessions, after his recliner and remote control. They'd had to feel a fraction of what financial pressure actually meant. The next morning, I drove to their house at 6 a.m., when I knew they'd all be asleep. I had a key, of course, I did. Who else would check on things when they vacationed? The house was messier than usual. Dishes in the sink, mail piled on the counter. The stress was showing. I found what I was looking for in my mother's home office, the family computer. Password, Harper 2000. They'd never changed it. I plugged in my USB drive and began my search. Email folders, financial documents, tax returns. And there it was, a folder labeled Lauren Insurance. My stomach dropped. Inside were screenshots of my bank transfers to them. Every single one meticulously organized by year. My mother had been keeping her own records, building her own evidence file. But for what? I dug deeper and found an email thread with Russell from 2 years ago. Mom, how much more do you think we can get before she cuts us off? She's desperate for family approval. As long as we balance criticism with occasional need, indefinitely. Russell, the girl's got daddy issues a mile wide. Mom, don't be crude, but yes, the dynamic works in our favor. I photographed everything with my phone, then found another folder, Harper wedding budget. Inside was a spreadsheet, the real budget, not the $8,000 they'd asked me for. The actual costs: venue, $2,000. Catering, $3,000. The rest, miscellaneous family expenses. They were padding the bills, skimming money off the top. A door opened upstairs. I quickly ejected the USB. Slipped out the back door and drove away. My heart pounding, but my mind crystal clear. They weren't just using me. They were conspiring to use me, documenting it, treating it like a business strategy. 2 days later, I received a formal invitation to the engagement party. Proper card stock addressed to Ms. Lauren Hale, like I was any other guest and not the person funding it. Inside, Harper had written, "Can't wait to celebrate with you. P.S. Payment details attached." The audacity was almost admirable. I RSVP'd yes, and wired exactly $5,000, the actual cost of the party, not their inflated invoice. The text messages started within an hour. "Mom, the venue says you only sent $5,000. There must be a mistake." Me, "No mistake. That covers the actual costs." "Mom, we had additional expenses related to the party." Me, "Then I suggest you provide itemized receipts." She didn't respond, but Russell did, calling from their landline. "Listen here, you little." I hung up and blocked the number. The engagement party was now 3 weeks away. I spent that time preparing. I hired a forensic accountant to review all my financial records and create a professional report of my gifts to the family. I consulted with a lawyer about my options. I organized every piece of evidence into a comprehensive timeline. But the masterpiece was the PowerPoint presentation, 20 slides of pure, undeniable truth. Bank transfers with dates and amounts, their email exchanges discussing how to manipulate me, screenshots of their social media showing lavish purchases after my emergency payments, the padded invoices versus actual costs, a running total of my financial support, $110,000 plus. The final slide was simple: how to make your ATM sister feel welcome, a case study in family values. The week before the party, Harper tried a different approach. She showed up at my office dressed in her best sweet sister outfit, the one she wore when she needed something big. "Lauren, can we talk?" I agreed to coffee in the building's public cafe. Witnesses. "I know things have been tense," she started, stirring her latte nervously. "And maybe Mom was too harsh at Christmas. You know how she gets about marriage stuff. She just wants you to be happy. By calling me a worthless spinster." Harper winced. "That was wrong. But Lauren, you have to understand it's hard for us too. Seeing you so successful while we struggle. Russell can't work because of his back. He was golfing last week. I saw the Instagram photos. That's physical therapy." I pulled out my phone and showed her the court documents. He was fired for harassment. Harper, not a back injury. Her face went pale. You investigated him." "I investigate everyone who takes my money while calling me worthless. That's invasive. It's stalking. It's public record, unlike the private financial records Mom's been keeping on me." I watched her face carefully. "You knew about that folder, didn't you?" Harper's silence was answer enough. "Here's what's going to happen," I said calmly. "I'll attend your engagement party. I'll smile for photos. I'll give a lovely toast about family and new beginnings, but things are going to change." "What do you mean?" "You'll see." I stood, leaving my untouched coffee. February 14th, "Don't worry, Harper. I promise not to make a scene. I'm not difficult, remember? Just supportive. The look of fear in her eyes was something new. For the first time in our relationship, Harper was realizing that her ATM system might have more settings than just dispense cash. As I walked back to my office, my phone buzzed with texts from my mother, demanding to know what I'd said to Harper. I didn't respond. The time for explaining myself to them was over. The engagement party guest list might have my name at the bottom, added as an afterthought, but by the end of that party, they'd all understand exactly where I stood in the family hierarchy, right at the top, where I'd put myself. Valentine's Day arrived with typical Oregon drizzle. I dressed carefully. A sleek black cocktail dress that screamed success. Diamond earrings I'd bought myself. The kind of understated elegance that whispered rather than shouted. I looked exactly like what I was. A successful woman who didn't need anyone's approval. The Riverside Country Club was decorated in Harper's signature blush pink. Everything was Instagram perfect, from the balloon arch at the entrance to the champagne tower in the corner. I arrived precisely at 7 p.m., watched the valet's eyes widen at my Tesla, and walked in with my head held high. Lauren, a cousin I hadn't seen in years, approached me. Wow, you look amazing. Harper said you weren't coming. Last minute change. I smiled. Wouldn't miss it. I made rounds, greeting relatives who seemed surprised to see me. Marcus' family, who'd clearly been told stories about the difficult sister. And family friends who kept commenting on how I looked code for successful despite being single. Harper held court near the champagne tower, radiant in a white dress that probably cost more than the monthly rent she couldn't pay after college. When she saw me, her smile flickered, but held, ever the performer. Lauren, you made it. She air-kissed me, whispering, please don't cause drama. Wouldn't dream of it, I whispered back. By the way, you look beautiful. That dress must have cost a fortune. She stiffened, but was pulled away by another well-wisher before she could respond. I found my assigned seat, table 12, in the back corner, with distant relatives and plus ones, the leftovers table. I sat with Grace, made pleasant conversation, and waited. Dinner was served, salmon or chicken, the Universal Country Club options. I chose salmon and noticed they'd cheaped out on the catering, too. $3,000, my foot. This was $2,000, maximum. Then came the speeches. Marcus' father spoke about family values and the importance of supporting each other. My mother gave a tearful toast about watching her baby girl find true love and how a woman's greatest achievement is creating a loving home. Her eyes found me during that line. I raised my champagne and smiled. Russell, playing the proud stepfather, talked about how he'd guided both girls through life and was proud of how Harper had turned out. The implications about how I'd turned out hung unspoken in the air. Finally, Harper spoke, gushing about Marcus, their future, their families coming together. I'm so blessed, she concluded. To have such a supportive family. Everything I am is because of their love and guidance. The room applauded. It was my moment. I stood, tapping my knife gently against my glass. The room turned to me, surprised. The sister wasn't on the speech schedule. I'd like to say a few words, I announced, moving to the front. Harper's face went white. My mother half stood, then sat back down, when she realized stopping me would cause the scene she desperately wanted to avoid. Family, I began, looking around the room. Such an important word. Harper's right. Family shapes us, molds us, for better or worse. I pulled out my phone, pretending to check notes. I've been thinking about family a lot lately, about support, about love, about the price we pay for belonging. Lauren, my mother warned. Oh, I'm getting to the good part, Mom. I smiled warmly at her. See, I wanted to give Harper and Marcus a special engagement gift, something meaningful. And I realized the most meaningful thing I could give is honesty. I clicked my phone, and the country club's AV system, which I'd coordinated with earlier claiming I had a surprise video montage, lit up with my PowerPoint. The first slide showed a beautiful family photo from Harper's college graduation. Normal, sweet. Then the next slide, Financial Support Summary 2011 to 2025. The murmur started immediately. You see, I continued conversationally, as the slides auto-advanced, showing bank transfer after bank transfer. I've had the privilege of supporting my family for 14 years. Harper's education, living expenses, this beautiful party, well, part of it. They asked for $8,000, but it only cost $5,000. Family discount, I suppose. Harper stood up. Lauren, stop this. But I'm just getting to the inspiring part. The slides now showed their emails about manipulating me. The room was dead silent, except for the soft gasps as people read Russell's daddy issues comment, blown up on screen. $110,000 plus. That's how much love costs in the Russell-Deborah household, I announced. And what did I get in return? The Christmas dinner quotes appeared. Worthless spinster. Burden on the family. No man wants a woman like you. But here's my favorite part, I said, as the Lauren Insurance folder appeared. They kept records, too. A whole strategy for milking the difficult daughter. Isn't that thoughtful? So organized. Marcus's father stood up, his face purple. This is inappropriate. You're absolutely right, I agreed. It is inappropriate. It's inappropriate to take someone's money while emotionally abusing them. It's inappropriate to exclude them from events they pay for. It's inappropriate to treat family like ATMs with self-esteem issues. The final slide appeared, the real party budget versus what they'd asked for, clearly showing the $3,000 padding. So, here's my gift to the happy couple, I said, pulling out an envelope. Inside is a check for exactly $3,000, the amount you tried to steal. Consider it a wedding gift. It's the last money you'll ever see from me. I dropped the envelope on the gift table and turned back to the room. To everyone here, I apologize for disrupting your evening, but I thought you should know who you're celebrating with. People who would bleed their own family dry while calling them worthless. My mother found her voice. How dare you? No, Mom. How dare you? I pulled out a second envelope. This is a cease and desist letter from my attorney. Come near me again. Contact me again. Ask for money again, and I'll pursue legal action for fraud and emotional distress. Yes, I have enough evidence. Yes, I will use it. Russell lurched to his feet. You can't threaten us. It's not a threat. It's a promise, just like your promise to protect and care for a teenage girl in your home. Oh, wait, I pretended to think you beat her instead. My mistake. The room erupted. Some people were leaving, others staring in shock. A few, I noticed with satisfaction, were taking photos of the slides still showing on screen. I walked through the chaos to Harper, who was crying real tears this time, not the practiced ones she used for sympathy. You ruined everything, she sobbed. My engagement party, my reputation. No, Harper. You ruined it the moment you decided I was worth less than my bank account. The moment you wrote Harper's sister instead of my name. The moment you threatened me. Oh yes, I have that email, too. Everyone will know you were psychologically damaged from childhood. Remember? Her tears stopped. You meant every word, just like Mom meant it when she tore up that abuse report. Just like Russell meant every blow. I leaned in close. But here's the thing about survivors, Harper. We remember everything. And eventually, we speak. Security was moving toward me now. My mother must have complained. I gathered my purse, my dignity intact. One last thing, I announced to the room. If any of you good people are wondering why a family would invite someone to pay for a party, but not attend it, while calling her a worthless spinster, I continued, well, now you know. Happy Valentine's Day. Enjoy the champagne. I hear it's the cheap stuff. I walked out with security flanking me like an honor guard, my heels clicking on the marble floor, my head held high. Behind me, I could hear the party dissolving into chaos, voices raised, accusations flying. In my car, I sat for a moment, hands shaking slightly, not from fear or regret, but from the sheer adrenaline of finally saying it all out loud. My phone was already exploding with messages, but I turned it off. Tomorrow there would be fallout, family members taking sides, flying monkeys sent to guilt me. Probably some legal threats from Russell, empty as they'd be. But tonight I was free. Free from their expectations, their manipulation, their casual cruelty wrapped in family obligation. The girl who used to hide in the bathroom had finally found her voice, and she'd used it to burn down the house of cards they'd built on her back. As I drove home to my loft, with its wide-open spaces and honest life, I thought about that teenage list: graduate, move out, never come back, never be small again, never need anyone again, survive. I'd done all that and more. I hadn't just survived. I'd won. The aftermath was swift and merciless. By the time I got home and turned my phone back on, I had 47 missed calls and over 100 text messages. I scrolled through them with the same detached interest I'd used to analyze a dataset at work. Chuts, cousin Janet. OMG, that was insane, but honestly, good for you. Uncle Ray. Your mother is hysterical. What were you thinking? Unknown number. This is Marcus's mother. We need to discuss your behavior and its impact on our families. Another unknown. I was at the party. Your mother is a piece of work. Sending you support. The family group chat, which I'd long ago muted, was on fire. I opened it to find myself already removed, but not before screenshots were sent to me by Janet, one of the few relatives who'd ever shown me kindness. Mom, she's lost her mind. Completely unhinged. This is what happens when women focus too much on careers. Aunt Helen. Deborah. Those emails were real. You actually wrote those things. Mom, taken out of context. She's always been manipulative. Ask Russell. The girl has serious mental issues. Always has. We tried to help her. And this is the thanks we get. I laughed. Actually laughed. Mental issues. The classic gaslighting move, paint the truth teller as crazy. My email inbox was more interesting. 3 relatives asking if what I'd shown was true. 2 offering support. And then, at 2:47 a.m., the one I'd been waiting for. From Harper. Martinez, soon-to-be subject. You've destroyed my life. I hope you're happy. Marcus' parents are reconsidering the wedding. His father says we are gold diggers now. 3 of my bridesmaids have dropped out. The country club is threatening to ban Mom and Russell. But what I can't forgive is that you shared private family business with strangers. Those emails were private. That financial information was private. You had no right. If you had problems with us, you should have come to us directly. Instead, you ambushed us. You humiliated us. You acted like we are criminals when all we ever did was ask for help from family. Isn't that what family does? Help each other. You're sick, Lauren. Sick and vindictive. Mom was right about you. You'll die alone, and you'll deserve it. Don't contact any of us again. I crafted my response carefully. Harper. Harper. Interesting how you're concerned about privacy now. Was my privacy respected when you threatened to expose my psychological damage from childhood if I didn't pay for your party? I have the email. February 8th, 11:23 p.m. Would you like me to forward it to Marcus's parents as well? You're right about one thing, that is what family does. Help each other, not help themselves to each other's bank accounts while providing nothing but insults in return. I won't die alone. I'll die surrounded by people who value me for more than my income. Can you say the same? Best of luck with the wedding planning. L. I hit send and then blocked her email address. The next morning brought a courier to my door. Legal papers. I signed for them, unsurprised. Russell was attempting to sue me for defamation, an intentional infliction of emotional distress. I forwarded them to my lawyer with a note. Christmas came early this year. My lawyer called within an hour, laughing. He's representing himself. This is written in crayon. Legally speaking, he's claiming damages for loss of reputation and family discord. Does he realize truth is an absolute defense to defamation? He never was very bright, I said. How fast can we countersue? Already drafting it. Fraud, extortion, and we might be able to make a case for financial elder abuse since you were supporting them well into your adult years based on childhood trauma. This is going to be fun. While the legal wheels turned, the social explosion continued. My LinkedIn started pinging with connection requests from people I'd never met, but who'd heard about the party. One message stood out. Ms. Hale, I was a server at the country club Saturday night. I wanted you to know that after you left, at least a dozen guests approached staff to say they supported you. Your mother tried to restart the party, but people kept leaving. She blamed the staff for allowing the presentation. It was chaos. Also, you were right about the champagne. It was the $12 bottle stuff. Thank you for the best shift of my career, Danny. I sent Danny a $500 Venmo with a note, hazard pay. Thanks for your service. 3 days after the party, an unexpected email arrived from Dr. Patricia Martinez, Marcus's mother. Subject, an apology. Dear Lauren, I owe you an apology. When Marcus first started dating Harper, we heard only one side of your family's story, the difficult sister who was jealous of Harper's happiness, the successful but bitter woman who couldn't maintain relationships. Your presentation, while shocking in its delivery, opened our eyes. We've since done our own investigation. Marcus found some concerning patterns in Harper's social media, expensive purchases right after mentioning family emergencies, vacations taken while claiming poverty. More troubling is her response to the situation. Instead of showing remorse or attempting to explain, she's doubled down on being a victim. She's threatened to destroy you on social media, and has been calling Marcus's sisters, trying to turn them against you. This manipulation is familiar now. We are not reconsidering the wedding because of your revelations. We are reconsidering it because of Harper's reaction to them. A woman who could treat her own sister this way, who could participate in such cruel deception. Is this who we want in our family? I'm sorry for the assumptions we made about you, and I'm sorry for what you endured, both as a child and as an adult. No one deserves that. If you're willing, I'd like to have coffee sometime. Woman to woman, mother to well, the sister of my son's possibly ex-fiancé. Regards, Patricia. I read it twice, then 3 times. An ally from the most unexpected place. I responded that I'd be happy to meet for coffee, suggesting a quiet place downtown. A week passed. The legal threats from Russell turned into panicked settlement offers when my lawyer filed our countersuit. The family group chat imploded when more relatives started questioning why they'd never seen me at family events. Despite my generous gifts, Harper's Instagram went private after someone, not me, surprisingly started commenting receipts under her photos. Then came the email that made everything worth it. From Sarah Chen. No relation, despite the name. Subject: thank you for your courage. Ms. Hale, you don't know me, but I was at the engagement party as a +1. I'm 25, recently graduated, and my family dynamics are similar to yours. Seeing you stand up there showing proof, refusing to be silenced, it changed something in me. I went home that night and told my parents I wouldn't be funding my brother's wedding anymore, not when they still introduce me as their disappointment for choosing engineering over marriage. You probably didn't intend to inspire anyone that night. You were just saving yourself, but you saved me too. Thank you for showing me it's possible to choose yourself and survive the fallout. With gratitude and admiration, Sarah. I printed that email, put it in a new folder labeled Worth It, because that's what made it all worthwhile. Not the revenge, though it was satisfying, not the money I'd save, though it was substantial, but knowing that somewhere out there, a young woman watched me burn down the house of cards and realized she could, too. The girl who used to hide in bathrooms had become the woman who stood in ballrooms and told the truth. And that truth had rippled out, touching lives I'd never know about, breaking cycles I'd never see. That was better than any family's approval could ever be. 3 weeks after the engagement party, I was sipping coffee in my office when my lawyer called with news that made me set down my cup carefully. Lauren, they are getting desperate. Russell just called my office making threats. I recorded it. Of course, he said, and I quote, that ruined our lives. If she doesn't drop this lawsuit, I'll come to her fancy apartment and show her what real consequences look like. He threatened me on a recorded line to my lawyer. Not the sharpest tool in the shed, is he? This is gift-wrapped evidence for our restraining order petition. How do you want to proceed? File it immediately and send the recording to the police. Within 48 hours, I had a temporary restraining order. Russell was legally required to stay at least 300 feet away from me, my home, and my workplace. The document felt like armor, legal proof that his violence was real, documented, and unacceptable. The restraining order triggered a new wave of family drama. My phone rang with an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Lauren? It was my Aunt Helen, my mother's sister. I heard about the restraining order. Deborah is telling everyone you're making things up, but I remember. Remember what? A long pause. I remember visiting for Thanksgiving when you were 15. You had a bruise on your jaw. Deborah said you'd fallen in gym class, but I saw how you flinched when Russell walked past. I should have said something. I'm sorry. Why didn't you? Your mother, she's my sister. I told myself it wasn't my business, that I was imagining things. But after what happened at the party, after seeing those emails, I can't pretend anymore. What do you want from me, Aunt Helen? Nothing. I wanted you to know that someone believes you. Someone always knew, even if they were too cowardly to act. I thanked her and hung up, unsure how to process this confession. How many others had seen and stayed silent? How many adults had chosen family harmony over a child's safety? My mother predictably escalated. She started a smear campaign on social media, posting carefully edited versions of events. My eldest daughter has always struggled with mental health issues, one post read. We tried to help her for years, but some people prefer to be victims. Please pray for our family during this difficult time. Friends who actually knew me started sending screenshots. The comments were a mix of sympathy for my mother and skepticism from people who'd noticed inconsistencies in her story. One comment stood out. "Didn't you post last year about how Lauren never visits? Why would she pay your bills if she never sees you?" My mother deleted that comment within minutes. Meanwhile, Harper was spiraling. Marcus's sister reached out to me through LinkedIn with an update. "Lauren, thought you should know Harper showed up at our parents' house at midnight drunk, demanding to speak to Marcus. She kept screaming about how you'd stolen her life. Security footage shows her trying to break a window when no one answered. My parents are filing a police report. Marcus ended things that night. I thought you deserved to know your presentation saved my brother from a lifetime of this." I allowed myself a moment of grim satisfaction before returning to my work. I had a life to live, a career to build, peace to protect. They could rage against the consequences of their own actions without me. But the universe wasn't done with poetic justice. My forensic accountant called with interesting news. "Lauren, I was reviewing the tax implications of your gifts to your family, and I discovered something. Your mother claimed you as a dependent on her taxes until you were 21, even though you were financially independent from 18. That's tax fraud." "She what?" "She collected credits and deductions for supporting you during years when you were actually supporting yourself. We're talking about thousands of dollars in fraudulent returns. The IRS might be very interested in this." I leaned back in my chair, considering. Did I want to go nuclear? Then I remembered she tore up that abuse report. She chose Russell over her own daughter's safety. She called me worthless while spending my money. "Send me the documentation," I said. "I'll think about it." 2 days later, I made my decision. Not because of the tax fraud, but because of what arrived in my inbox, a cease and desist letter from my mother's lawyer. Apparently, she'd found one willing to work for exposure, claiming I was harassing the family by existing publicly and successfully while they suffered. The letter accused me of intentional infliction of emotional distress by refusing to provide financial support, obtaining a restraining order against Russell, poisoning family relationships, and flaunting my success on social media. I had posted one photo of my new office. I forwarded it to my lawyer with 2 words, "Destroy them." My lawyer crafted a response that was a work of art. She cited every documented instance of financial fraud, the tax fraud evidence, Russell's recorded threats, the attempted break-in at Marcus' family home, screenshots of my mother's defamatory social media posts, a detailed accounting of emotional and financial abuse spanning 18 years. The letter concluded, "Any further contact from your clients will be considered harassment and met with appropriate legal action. Additionally, we are prepared to forward evidence of tax fraud to relevant authorities unless all defamatory content is removed and all contact ceases immediately." The silence that followed was deafening. My mother's social media posts disappeared overnight. The flying monkeys stopped calling. Even Harper went quiet. I'd won, not just the battle, but the war. Standing in my loft that night, looking out at the city lights, I thought about that restraining order in my safe. 300 feet. That's how far Russell had to stay from me now. But the real distance was immeasurable. The gulf between who they tried to make me believe I was and who I'd become. I poured myself a glass of wine, good wine, not the cheap stuff my mother served while spending my money on herself, and toasted the teenage girl who'd survived them all. "You did it," I whispered to her. "You're free." My phone buzzed. Another message from someone who'd been at the party, sharing their own story of family financial abuse, thanking me for showing them it was possible to break free. I saved it to my worth it folder, which was growing daily. Each message was proof that breaking silence could break cycles, that one woman's courage could inspire another's freedom. The restraining order was just paper and legal words. But what it represented, the absolute right to exist without fear, to have boundaries that couldn't be crossed, to say no more, and have the law stand behind me, that was everything. Russell would never raise a hand to me again. Not because he'd changed, but because I'd finally found my voice and used it to build a wall he could never breach. 300 feet and a lifetime of distance, both measured in my freedom. The news of Harper's broken engagement spread through the family grapevine like wildfire. Within days, everyone in our extended network knew that Marcus' family had called off the wedding, citing irreconcilable differences in values. The pristine image my mother had cultivated for decades was crumbling, and the fallout was spectacular. I learned the details from Janet, my cousin who'd become an unexpected ally. She called me on a Tuesday evening, her voice breathless with gossip. "Lauren, you're not going to believe this. Harper showed up at Grandma's house demanding money for a lawyer. She's apparently trying to sue Marcus' family for breach of promise because they called off the engagement. She's suing the family of lawyers." I laughed. "How's that working out for her?" "About as well as you'd expect. But here's the kicker. She told Grandma you'd stolen her fiancé by seducing his mother with lies. Grandma asked her for proof. And Harper completely melted down, started screaming about how you'd ruined her life, how she'd been planning this wedding since she was 12, how it wasn't fair that you got to be successful while she suffered since she was 12. That's concerning, right? Anyway, Grandma kicked her out. Told her that maybe if she'd spent less time planning to marry rich, and more time building her own life, she wouldn't be in this position. Grandma had always been a force of nature. I'd avoided her since escaping the family, assuming she'd side with my mother. Apparently, I'd underestimated her. 3 days later, a FedEx envelope arrived at my office. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting. Harper. Inside was a single sheet of paper, a printout of a draft email she'd never sent, dated 6 months ago. I know we haven't been close, but I need to tell someone. Mom and Russell are pressuring me to get engaged to Marcus, even though I'm not sure I love him. They keep saying it's my only chance at security, that I'm not smart like you, that I need a man to take care of me. They say if I don't lock him down soon, I'll end up alone and bitter like, well, you know. I'm scared that they are right. What if I can't make it on my own? What if I'm exactly what they say, pretty but useless? Sometimes I wish I could be more like you. Just leave and never look back. But I'm not brave enough. I'm exactly the daughter Mom wanted. Weak. Below the email, in fresh ink, P.S. I never sent this because Mom read my drafts. Now you've taken away my only option. Thanks for nothing. H. I stared at the paper, feeling something I hadn't expected, pity. Harper wasn't just the golden child. She was another victim, groomed differently, but just as damaged. Where they'd beaten independence out of me. They'd never allowed it to grow in her. My phone rang, unknown number. Don't hang up, Harper's voice, raw and desperate. Please, just listen for 1 minute. I stayed silent. I know you hate me. I know I've been horrible, but I need you to understand, they made me this way. Every time I showed interest in a career, Mom would say I wasn't smart enough. Every time I tried to be independent, Russell would remind me how you struggled alone, how hard your life was because you refused help. They made you the cautionary tale and me the success story. But Lauren, I'm 25 and I don't know how to live. What do you want from me, Harper? She took a shaky breath. Marcus's mom gave me your email. The real one, not the family thread. She said that you might understand. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking, how did you do it? How did you leave? How did you become you? I closed my eyes, remembering my own desperation at her age. The difference was I'd had righteous anger to fuel me. Harper only had emptiness. "I'm not giving you money," I said firmly. "I know. I don't want it. And I'm not forgiving you. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I know that, too. But I'll send you something. One thing. Check your email tomorrow." I hung up and spent the evening crafting a message. Not reconciliation, not absolution, but something else, a roadmap. Links to community colleges with strong programs, entry-level job boards, budgeting apps, apartment hunting guides, the phone number of my first therapist, the one who'd helped me understand that surviving wasn't betraying. I ended with one paragraph. "Harper, they convinced you that you had two choices, marriage or failure. They lied. You have infinite choices, but you have to make them yourself. No one else can save you. Not Marcus, not me, not any other person. The only power they have over you is the power you give them. Take it back. Start small. Get a job. Any job. Open your own bank account. Pay for your own phone. Every tiny independence is a victory. You're 25. Your brain is fully developed. Unlike mine when I left. You can do this. Whether you will is up to you." I sent it and then blocked her number again. This wasn't forgiveness or reconciliation. It was recognition that the same people who'd physically abused me had psychologically hobbled her. Different tactics, same goal, control. The next morning brought another email that stopped me cold. The subject line read, "From someone who should have spoken up sooner." It was from Mrs. Martinez, my old guidance counselor. "Dear Lauren, I've thought about you every single day for 15 years. When I saw the news about the party, small-town gossip travels fast, I knew I had to reach out. I kept a copy. The report your mother tore up. I kept a copy. It's been in my filing cabinet all these years, waiting. I couldn't do anything with it then. You were about to turn 18, and you begged me not to pursue it, and I was young and scared of the legal implications, but I kept it, thinking maybe someday. I'm attaching it here. Do with it what you will, but know this, I believed you then. I believe you now. And I'm so proud of who you've become. You deserved better from all the adults in your life, including me. Mrs. Martinez." Attached was a PDF, my original abuse report, dated March 15th, 15 years ago. Every detail I'd told her, meticulously documented. Photos of bruises I'd forgotten about. My signature at the bottom, shaky but determined. I forwarded it to my lawyer with the subject line, "The Smoking Gun." 2 hours later, I received a text from my mother. She'd clearly been informed by her bargain bin lawyer about the new evidence. Just 4 words, "Please don't do this." I thought about that teenage girl begging for help, watching it get torn to pieces. I thought about Harper, molded into helplessness. I thought about Aunt Helen, who saw but stayed silent. I thought about Mrs. Martinez, carrying guilt for 15 years. All these people, twisted up in knots because 2 abusers demanded silence. I texted back 3 words, "Watch me, Mom." Then I called my lawyer. "File everything. IRS, police, civil court, everything. Are you sure? This will be very public. Your name will be in the papers." I looked at the abuse report on my screen. That teenage girl's pain, preserved in black and white. "Good," I said. "Let them print it. Let everyone know what Deborah and Russell Hale are really like. Let every parent who tears up abuse reports see what happens when the children grow up and find their voices. Let everyone know my name, Lauren Hale, the woman who refused to stay silent." Understood. I'll file this afternoon. I hung up and opened my Worth It folder, adding Mrs. Martinez's email to the collection. The girl who used to hide in bathrooms had an army now, survivors, witnesses, truth-tellers, all. Tomorrow, my mother would wake up to federal investigators and lawsuit notifications. Harper would decide whether to save herself or remain trapped. Russell would discover that restraining orders were just the beginning of his legal troubles. But today I had work to do, a life to live, a future to build on foundations of truth rather than silence. The perfect family was about to become perfectly exposed, and I had the best seat in the house to watch it all come down. The Portland courthouse was busier than usual that morning. I arrived in my best suit, armor for the modern battlefield, with my lawyer by my side. We weren't here for the tax fraud case. The IRS worked on its own timeline. Or the civil suits, those would take months. We were here for something simpler, but more satisfying, Harper's emergency filing. She'd actually done it. Sued me for defamation. My lawyer had laughed for 5 solid minutes when the paperwork arrived. Harper, representing herself because no attorney would take her case, claimed I'd maliciously destroyed her engagement and intentionally inflicted emotional distress through public humiliation. Your Honor, Harper stood before the judge, voice trembling. My sister orchestrated a calculated attack on my happiness. She presented private family communications out of context. And Ms. Hale, the judge interrupted, looking at his notes. Are you denying the authenticity of the documents presented? No, but are you denying that you requested $8,000 from your sister for an engagement party? She always paid for family events. That wasn't my question. Did you or did you not request $8,000? Harper's shoulders slumped. Yes. And did you inform her she wasn't invited to this party she was paying for? Silence. Ms. Hale. We thought it would be awkward for her, Harper whispered. The judge removed his glasses, pinching the bridge of his nose. Let me understand this. You asked your sister for money, told her she couldn't attend the event she was paying for, and now you're suing her for telling people about it. My lawyer stood. Your Honor, would like to submit evidence that Ms. Harper Hale also threatened my client via email, stating she would expose childhood trauma if payment wasn't received. The email appeared on the courtroom screen. Harper went pale. Case dismissed, the judge said firmly. Ms. Harper Hale, you're fortunate Ms. Lauren Hale hasn't countersued for extortion. I suggest you leave your sister alone and perhaps consider that actions have consequences. Harper fled the courtroom in tears. I felt nothing, no satisfaction, no guilt, just emptiness where family was supposed to be. Outside the courthouse, my phone rang. My mother. You must be so proud. She hissed. Destroying your own sister in court. She called me sobbing. Is this what you wanted? To hurt us all? No, Mom. What I wanted was a mother who protected me instead of my abuser. What I wanted was a family that valued me beyond my bank account. What I wanted was love that didn't come with a price tag. You always were dramatic, making everything about your feelings. Goodbye, Deborah. I used her first name deliberately. She wasn't my mother anymore. She was just Deborah, a woman who'd chosen violence over her own child. 2 weeks later, the IRS arrived at their door. I heard about it through the family grapevine, federal agents asking questions about tax returns, demanding documentation for claims made years ago. Deborah hired a real lawyer this time, mortgaging the house to pay for it. Russell's situation was worse. Between the recorded threats, the restraining order violation, he'd driven past my building, caught on security cameras, and the historical abuse documentation Mrs. Martinez provided, he was facing actual jail time. But the real victory came in an unexpected form. An email from Harper. Lauren, I got a job. Receptionist at a dental office, It's not much, but it's mine. I opened my own bank account yesterday. The teller asked if I wanted to add a secondary user, and I said no. It felt strange. Good strange. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not sure I deserve it. But I wanted you to know that I used every link you sent. I start community college in the fall, business administration. Marcus's mom is helping me apply for financial aid. Mom calls crying every day, saying I'm betraying the family like you did. Russell says I'm ungrateful, but for the first time in my life, I can breathe. I understand if you never want to hear from me again, but thank you for showing me the cage door was open all along. I didn't respond, but I saved the email. Maybe someday we could build something new from the ashes. Maybe not. But she was free, and that was enough. A month later, I received another message that made everything worthwhile. Ms. Hale, you don't know me, but I followed your story since the engagement party. I'm a social worker now, specializing in financial abuse cases. Your situation inspired me to create a workshop called Breaking the Bank, recognizing financial abuse in families. In the past month, I've helped 12 people recognize that they are not obligated to fund their family's lifestyle while being treated as ATMs. Your courage in speaking out has created ripples you can't imagine. Thank you for refusing to be silent, Maria Santos, El Sab. I printed that one and framed it. 6 months after the engagement party, I got word of the final outcomes. Deborah pleaded guilty to tax fraud, received probation and massive fines. Russell, 6 months in jail for criminal threats and restraining order violations. Harper enrolled in college, working full-time. No contact with parents. Me, free. I stood in my loft that evening, watching the sunset paint Portland in shades of gold and pink. No closed doors, no hidden bruises, no guilty payments to ungrateful people. Just peace. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Is this Lauren? This is Patricia Martinez, Marcus' mom. Harper passed her first semester with a 3.8 GPA. Thought you'd want to know. She's becoming quite impressive. Must run in the family. P.S. I smiled. Really smiled. For the first time in months, the teenage girl who'd hidden in bathrooms, dreaming of escape, had done more than survive. She'd broken the cycle, exposed the truth, and lit a path for others trapped in similar darkness. I raised a glass of wine to the window, to my reflection. To all the survivors finding their voices. Here's to the difficult daughters, the unmarried successes, the truth-tellers, the ones who refuse to pay for love that comes with conditions. We are not burdens or ATMs or family embarrassments. We are free. And freedom was worth more than all the family dinners, fake smiles, and conditional love in the world. Some stories end with reconciliation, with families learning and growing together. This isn't one of those stories. This is a story about choosing yourself when no one else will. About building your own family from friends, mentors, and fellow survivors. About understanding that DNA doesn't obligate you to endure abuse, financial or otherwise. They said I'd die alone. Instead, I lived free. And that made all the difference. Where are you listening from today? Please comment below, and let me know your thoughts on this story. Your perspectives and experiences make our community richer. If this story touched you, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. And if you want more people to hear Lauren's powerful message about breaking free from toxic family dynamics, please hit that share button to help this video reach others who might need to hear it. Until next time, remember, your worth isn't determined by what others take from you, but by what you choose to build for yourself.